Close your eyes for a second, think about the life you fantasize about. The version of you that feels powerful, admired, free. Now open your eyes. Here's the uncomfortable truth, that fantasy might be the biggest tragedy of your life, not because it's bad, but because it will probably never happen. And your brain knows it. Stay with me, because once you understand this, you'll never relate to your fantasies the same way again. Your brain is a prediction machine. Its job is not to make you happy, its job is to anticipate rewards. When reality feels limited, slow, or painful, the brain does something brilliant. It simulates a better future. That simulation is called fantasy. And neurologically, here's the dangerous part. When you imagine something vividly, your brain activates the same reward circuits. As if it were real, dopamine is released, emotion is felt. Identity is rehearsed, so the brain starts preferring imagined success over real effort, and without realizing it, you begin living in a future that never arrives. Reality demands risk, fantasy demands nothing. In fantasy, you never fail. You are never rejected, you are always enough. But the brain learns something subtle and dangerous. Why struggle in reality when imagination already gives the reward? This is why people can fantasize for years without moving an inch, not because they're lazy, but because their brain is already satisfied. And now ask yourself gently, how much of your energy goes into dreaming? Here's where fantasy becomes tragedy. Every fantasy creates an ideal self, and every ideal self creates a gap, the gap between who you are and who you imagine you should be. The bigger that gap becomes, the more dissatisfaction grows. You don't suffer because life is bad. You suffer because life doesn't match the movie in your head, and your brain keeps comparing, silently, constantly, unfairly. That comparison slowly turns into shame, frustration, emptiness, feeling behind. Even when nothing is actually wrong, our brain is incredibly good at pattern recognition. Over time, it notices something. The fantasy repeats, the reality doesn't change. So the nervous system enters a quiet grief, not dramatic, not conscious, just a low-level sadness for a future that never came. This is why some people feel tired without being tired, why motivation fades, why joy feels distant. They're not depressed, they're mourning a life that only existed in their mind. Now listen carefully, fantasy is not the problem. Attachment to fantasy is. Fantasy should be a direction, not a destination. The moment you stop using fantasy to escape pain and start using it to guide action, it loses its power to hurt you. Here's the refrain. Don't ask, why am I not living my fantasy? Ask, what tiny action would move reality 1% closer? The brain doesn't need a miracle, it needs movement. Imagine this instead, a life less dramatic than your fantasy, but real, less perfect, but progressing. Imagine replacing fantasy time with small, uncomfortable actions. Your brain starts releasing dopamine for effort, not imagination, and something strange happens. Reality becomes more satisfying than the dream ever was. Because now, you're actually living. So if you've been feeling stuck, unmotivated, or quietly disappointed with life, ask yourself this. What fantasy am I still waiting to save me? Let it guide you, but don't let it replace you. If this hits something real inside you, like the video, subscribe if you want content that challenges the mind and rewires how you see yourself, because the most dangerous place to live is a future that only exists in your head. And the moment you return to reality is the moment your life actually begins, because you will never be where the snow is warm.